Welcome back to another video. In this week's video, I'm going to talk about LogRocket. LogRocket's a service that helps front-end developers get some insight into their actually what their users are doing on their client. It helps, speaking from experience, it helps me as a developer. If someone's experiencing bad user experience on the front end, I can see it, I can understand it. If they're my API is throwing a bunch of errors and I'm not catching them correctly, it lets me get some insight onto that as well. And I'm going to go through it and kind of show you how to set it up. There's other services outside of LogRocket. I personally really like LogRocket because of the level of granularity. You can go with how much user information you want to capture. This helps a lot with privacy. So we're going to use the Create React app to set it up. It's going to be a fairly quick tutorial. I have a written tutorial here. As you can see, I've linked to it down in the description below. I'm going to walk you through all the steps on this tutorial. I'm going to use it as my base to follow. So we'll kind of go through the basic setup of LogRocket. You'll start to see events coming into your LogRocket dashboard. And then, as I mentioned, I like LogRocket because I can level the different amount of information being captured, and I'll show you how to set that all up as well. We're going to be using the Create React app as a starting point. This means I'm assuming you have some experience with NPM, you've worked a little bit with JavaScript, and you would have no issues setting up and running this application. The last prerequisite is to actually have a LogRocket account. Just head over to the website. It's free to sign up. They start to charge after so many users are attached to your project. So it's really great that way. So, all right, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by setting up our project, and this will be the Create React app, as I mentioned. So I'm going to open up my terminal window and just going to switch onto my desktop. Let me just make this bigger so everyone can see it. I'm going to switch onto my desktop and make a project called make directory. I'm just going to call this project LogRocket1. It's just a demo. If I'd recommend using something like Git if you have Git. GitHub is an easy example of that. So first thing we're going to do is just run npx create react app, and then you're going to give it a name. I'm actually going to go back here. I'm going to do LogRocket1 like this. So instead of creating the directory, LogRocket1 like this, and it'll create a directory for me. If you have a Git project, you may have to copy and paste and move files around. That works as well. This is just gonna be faster for me because I'm not actually saving this to Git at all. So it's created the directory. It's gonna do the install. So it's just running an npm install on React DOM, React scripts, using the CRA template. As this installs, let's talk a little bit about LogRocket. So you're going to have to sign in. So head over to LogRocket.com. I've included a link in the description below as well. If you don't have an existing project, so I'm just going to actually use Google. You'll see something similar. Welcome to LogRocket. I'm just going to hit continue. I'm going to provide a project name, so I'm just going to call it Demo Project 1. I'm not going to invite any of my teammates. I don't really have any for this project, so I'm just going to hit continue. It's going to set up LogRocket, and the very first step is it's going to tell us to install LogRocket. So at this point, we can actually circle back to our React project to see how the installation is doing. Okay, so we're all set up here, so I'm just going to cd into LogRocket1, my project, and I'm just going to do npm run start. And this will just inform me, it'll open up on localhost 3000. I should see a basic React app, probably just the React logo in the middle, and some instructions on how to edit it. Still loading, it's taking a second. Okay, yeah, so React app and the logo in the center, and then it's spinning, perfect. So what I'm going to do is actually cancel this for now. I'm just going to clear my console, and so I cancel it using Command C on my Mac. And then I'm just gonna do Atom and then dot, which is gonna open up my project in an editor. You can use whatever editor you'd like. I'm using Atom. I'm just gonna switch back to the tutorial, or you can go to the LogRocket one. It provides you installation instructions for installing LogRocket with a React app. So as you can see here, it's npm install save LogRocket. Same instruction is right here. So I'm just gonna copy the one in my tutorial. So I'm just do npm I -- save LogRocket. And that will begin the installation of LogRocket. It will also add it to our package.json, so the next person installing our application will be included. Okay. So just to get started, LogRocket, this portion of the tutorial aligns with what LogRocket's setup is. So it just says, import the package and then do the initial of it. I'm going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to do the import of LogRocket, and then I'm just going to initialize it. And right there and then we'll start to see our sessions fall into our LogRocket dashboards. I can kind of give you a little bit of a tour of the LogRocket dashboard. And then we'll go back into the code and make our app.js file, so source/app.js. I'm going to go through it and edit it with a finer grain so that you can control the levels, different levels on a per user basis. You can also add user information. So we're going to copy this code here. So I have my editor. I'm going to head over to Atom here. I'm going to go source and then app.js. This is the root of the project. It's using a functional approach here. That's fine. I'm actually just going to go import React from React. And I'm just going to use I'm not going to use a functional approach to React. I'm going to use the component method. So if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. Remove all this. I'm just gonna go. Just so I'm doing this just so you can see all the different life cycles. So component, and then I'm gonna render. We want to return back, and I these days I tend to actually not use semicolons, so I'm just gonna actually remove them all. There's no reason. It's just a style preference. Add a constructor and import props. Again, I don't need to use this right. I don't need this right away, but I will. And then I'm just going to use in the lifecycle method of component will mount. I'm going to declare my LogRocket session. So go back to my website here. Import LogRocket. My app is here. And just beneath the React one, I'm just going to import LogRocket. In terms of styling, I tend to go React and then LogRocket, my external packages and then my internal relative packages. And the last one is actually found on my LogRocket page, which is my initialize. This will be unique to my account and my project. So you'll have your own. Make sure you have your own. Use your own. So just here. So as the React component renders, it's going to initialize the LogRocket session, and at that point, it will begin to capture user information on the on the client, and then send it back to the LogRocket servers so that we can see it. So in this case, for example, if my API goes down in the background and my front end's still trying to consume it, LogRocket will be a third-party service here, and therefore I can see if my API down if I'm not aware of it. Yeah, so with all that, we're good to go. I just need to go back to my terminal here and run npm run start to restart the application, since I've now installed LogRocket. I've installed version 1.0.14 there. It's going to run. And when it does, the LogRocket session is going to take off. I'm just going to head to inspect, and then I'm just going to my network tab. And as you can see right here, this is the session here. You can see the project name, the project account ID, and the project ID, and then you can see the session. So on the LogRocket.com, you just go to dashboard. So it says awaiting session recordings. They'll come in a second. I just refreshed my page a second ago. It should capture them. And as you can see, we have our first user. So this is So there's a few things to this. So it creates a session. Sessions, depending on your level of project pricing plan, these sessions will only live for so long in the LogRocket dashboard. I have anonymous user, so I know that's me. I'm based out of Oakville. You can see it's a Mac. It's on Chrome. If the console, if something crashes or the console throws an error, it'll pop up here, provide you a stack trace. It'll provide you ability to replay it, things like that. But I'm just going to click on that session. So as you can see, I can see my screen there, and I can see all the network calls that were happening there outside of the LogRocket ones. So there were none, so I don't actually see them. But that's like a really nice feature. So you can see all the outbound calls. You can say all. So here are all the different calls that went out, which actually align. If I go back to all here, refresh the page, you can see all the same calls are going out here. What else about this? Oh, then you can see the console logs here. Allows you to debug your application better. And then you can, on the bottom here, you kind of have the timeline. So it was only a few seconds there, and you can kind of move through the history of time. And same with the network calls here. If you want to focus on the actual playback here it is. And then insights is if you had LogRocket Professional, you can see the kind of the heat map and things like that. You can see the domain and URL at the top left corner. And that's LogRocket, which is quite nice. So this is the very, very bare minimum. You have it all set up. You're good to go. If this is all you wanted, fantastic. A little bit about a security thing. People would have a lot of hesitation with LogRocket because it feels like they're capturing your screen. They're not capturing your screen. They're actually capturing the DOM events happening. So it's a little bit more, I guess, less creepy in this case because it's just the DOM events on your single page. Like as I sit on my website here, for example, you don't have to worry about like LogRocket reaching across from tab to tab or anything like that. It's all secure. But if that is a concern of yours and you want to provide your users with a way to control this, or if you want a way to control this, we can do that. So if you look at our dashboard one more time, actually, for a single session, let me go back to the developer tab in the top right corner. We have a few things here. We have the screen recording in the bottom left corner, the DOM events being recreated. We have the logs in the top right and the bottom right corner. And then we have the network calls on the top. And then there's the last aspect, which is the overall general recording of the whole thing. So what we can do, and I've explained it here, is we can break this down into a series of user feature flags. So assuming your user is signed in, I would attach what would seem like feature flags on top of that user. And so in code, for example, you would make an outbound API call here. So component will mount, and then you would pull back a user object. So let's say this user has an email. I'm gonna use my email here. So my user has an email, and then you could have like a nested thing like feature flags. But more simply, you can just say, I think I actually even have it here, so I'm just gonna copy what I have. Yeah. Here. So then essentially what you do here is you just record front end logging. You set if it's set to false, you don't record the logging, and you disable that. You have network calls, record UI, disables the UI, and then associate front end logs with user. That'd be like how I was marked as anonymous on the left side here. You can change that so that so this allows you to just tokenize all your users. You don't really care if they're signed in or not. Who's signed in, you want to just see what their user experience is like. But you can assign this to like my email, for example, in this case. And so I'm just gonna add this state here, which would be okay, the equivalent of making that API call. So page loads, the state's unset, there's no user, and the record UI is false. I'm gonna copy all of this and I'll just explain it. It's probably easier. And so I've also linked out to this in the description, so you can just copy it from there as well.
delete this one. And then LogRocket project ID. I'm going to make that constant on the top. And that's this little number that is unique to my project. Therefore, I can delete this. And I'm going to walk through all this code in a second. Since we actually don't have any child props here, typically you just wrap your whole application with this so that you can capture everything on every page. Since we don't have that, this is actually a single page application. What we're gonna do is I'm just gonna make this content variable here and paste. That's a wrong one. I'm gonna paste in the whole application, the thing that you see. And so instead of it rendering the child or the children, I guess in this case, it's gonna render content. And so a little content. What does this data private do? What did we just do on this component will mount? So I'll explain all of that. So to start off with, that data private. I'll start with that. If there's some sort of section of your application you don't want recorded, all you have to do is add this data private to the div tag, and it won't capture any of the children attributes to that HTML or the JSX portion of your application. So, for example, if they're doing something sensitive that you don't want LogRocket to know of, this is the way to hide it. By default, the password input field is not recorded, and it just so it makes it. There's a few things like that. They also have. They have this all in their docs. I've linked out to it all. I won't go through it. I think it's important to read through all this. But they have a way for sanitizing network requests. Oh, my links don't work anymore. Anyways, they have ways to sanitize network requests and everything else so that things kind of stay hidden from the user. They have a whole privacy tab here, so that data will private. Form inputs. So you just do you can backfill it with hidden data. So here's how you exclude it from network requests. Here. So that's disabling. So sanitizing is here, where you look up the value. So if it's in this case, if the request.url has the word ignore in it, ignore the response. Otherwise, return the request. So things like that. I'm not going to go through this because I've actually never used this. Typically, if the request is going from my computer or a user's computer out to the server, a man in the middle attack can technically capture that information. So you try to limit it anyways, but that's kind of how you would sanitize that, or removing from the request body, same thing. Anyways, I can include this in the description as well. Let's talk about what's actually happening in this file. I'm pretending I'm grabbing a user from a server or from cookies or something like that, and I have these attributes. So I have my email, and then I have these 4 attributes. So if the user's not set, or they've set record front end UI to false, don't record anything, and that's just the set state. Record and leave it as false. Otherwise, record UI. Before I get more into it, I'm going to scroll down here. In that case, if record UI is set to false, you just add this tag. Technically, you'll see in a second that we don't even initialize LogRocket, but still, we might as well hide it in the case that, let's say, you accidentally initialize it. Next, if the user is set and the user has set record network calls, we just do the network is enabled true, and we just pass in that LogRocket project ID. Otherwise, set to false. And then the last one is if the user is set and they've said associate front end logs with the user. In this case, I'm going to assign identify this user as user.email. So LogRocket.identify, and then passing user email, and I can put any other fields I want that would help me debug more information about that user. And that's it. Like that's pretty much it. And so let's talk about how this looks. So in this case, I'm gonna say record UI is true. Record front end logs is true. Record front end logging is true. And I want to associate the front end logs with the user. I'm going to head back to my Create React app. I'm just going to refresh the page. So I'm going to refresh my dashboard here too, because you're going to see a new user there. There'll be the anonymous user, and then there'll be a new user that says their email. Why not? Why did that not say that? I'm just going to restart my React app just to make sure it goes through. So I'm just going to refresh the page. Yes, my new user has been associated. So now you can see my email there. So it's me@keithweaver.ca. So everything's set. I can still see all my logs. I can see the network calls, no big deal. So let's try modifying a few of these values. So I'm just going to hit back now. So let's disable that. Don't record my UI. Again, I'm just going to refresh my app just to make sure it works. Refresh my UI. I'm just going to go back to my dashboard here. Again, I'm still identifying the user. Therefore, it'll stay all lumped into the same session. But as you can see on the bottom left corner here, it begins to hide that session. So I can't actually see what the DOM events. I don't know what they're clicking on. This doesn't help with the user experience, but it provides some privacy. Lastly, let's go back to our dashboard here again. So we don't want UI logging, and we don't want to associate the user. We'll restart our app one last time. The only catch here is this isn't always perfect. You wouldn't usually do this kind of switching real quick. You would typically do it through a setting, so it's not actually demoing properly. I guess my system's kind of living cache. You know what I can do is I can just go to my local host here and then try one more time on a new app in an incognito browser. And this should technically come in as a brand new user, I hope. No, even that one's not coming in yet. That's a brand new user. Let's just confirm the code. So email, and then if associated user is false, don't set the user email, or set the user email. But then unfortunate part is it's kind of getting cached here. That's fine. You get the gist of it. I'm not trying to LogRocket. Oh, here it is. It took a second to show up. So here's my new user on the other browser, where you shouldn't see, you wouldn't see network calls, you won't see UI, and you won't see logs. So as you can see, like I can tell you that it was throwing a whole bunch of console logs here, saying like const isn't set. I'm set to all, and you can't see any network calls. So that's it, disabling everything, and you can kind of work with that granularity on it. I personally really like this. It's a great tool. I don't know how many, I don't use a lot of the pro features, but what they have here is nice. Giving the users that experience to disable things is also very nice. And it's great for discovering user experience issues, because you'll watch someone actually go through the app, and then they may use your app in funny ways. and you can go through and actually fix that. Thank you for watching this video. I'll have another one next week. Please subscribe.